One of the things that kind of hindsight I wish I had really taken some time to plan out is being really intentional with the use of it and making sure that it is used as just a part of your curriculum, but it's not the curriculum itself. That your time isn't just spent on the laptop, but you're on the laptop to annotate a short passage, or you're on there to type up your final paper, or you're going on to do some authentic research. That you really, before you put them on the computers, you have a very clear purpose of what you want them to do. Because otherwise that's when the playing starts, or they get distracted and want to kind of do a bunch of other things, like change their background 14 million times.
What's the expectation? My expectation is 3-minute warning, we need to be logging off. Then that's when the person who's in charge of the kid, student, walks out, takes my keys, because if it's locked, they'll unlock it, open it up. Everybody knows how to stand in line, go out, plug them in. Once in a blue moon, we get them off plugged, so we have to plug them back in, but allowing your kids that responsibility, allowing them to take charge will make the ownership in them, it's not mine, it's theirs, and they're very responsible about it. I think that's the huge piece. Giving them that responsibility makes them, nobody's gonna mess with their computers, and it's really cool to watch them. Cool.
I can do small group work with the laptops. I found I can get a group of kids around one of my tables and they all have their work on their laptops. And then I can break them apart into groups, whereas at the lab, it was who they were sitting next to, or they had a crowd around one computer. So that's one thing I definitely...
Having done full-time class in a lab last year and full-time class with the mobile lab this year, the ability for students to collaborate together just because of the physical layout is increased exponentially. And one advantage of having kids submit things online that I think can help them take risks in terms of what they're doing is there's a bit of anonymity in terms of their peers, in terms of they'll maybe try something they wouldn't try otherwise if their peers could see exactly what they're doing.
So one of the things that I think has been the most beneficial about having a lab is the fact that when something happens in history, we can the next day talk about it because they have access and resources to things that normally I would have had to have scheduled lab time, and if there wasn't lab time available, then we might not talk about it for a couple of days. So that current event piece allows us to have really meaningful conversations. And this year with ISIS and a number of monument explosions, we've been able to the next day start talking about what was happening. So that's been very helpful. And also it helps put history in context because we can use the computers every day. So we can look at a map of a place and talk about the events that are happening there, and then also layer in the historical piece that we're studying. So that's been really nice.
We can do work on the computers, but also at the same time doing hands-on things like with labs. That's been really helpful, especially when we're working with rocks. They can actually have true examples with Lester when we're looking at mineral identification, which is something we haven't been able to do before. Also having them and experience real-life examples of where, say, earthquake activity is happening on the surface of the earth in relation to a lab that we've been doing, and then extrapolating some of that data and figuring out, okay, what does that mean for structures that are being built in those areas? So really giving those kids the real life interaction piece in the classroom while we're doing the labs has been really, really helpful. It's been super cool for the kids to actually experience that.
We've used the National Archives website that has a lot of built-in activities that we haven't been able to use before. We've used a cool infographic kind of Web 2.0 site. Just thought I'd give it a go. Through using Canvas, kids were able to make podcasts the other day. A couple of them gave that a go. So I've been able to offer more choice. So the kids that aren't used to the technology can just do basic like PowerPoint, things like that they're more comfortable with. But the kids that aren't ready to move on have been able to try some cool things like that.
I'm doing a lot more of, we just finished a long walk to water And one of the things afterwards is they had to go and respond to some sort of book club questions in a discussion forum. Part of their grade then too was to go and respond to each other's literature responses, and I had kids answer such insightfully that never raised their hand, that never feel comfortable raising their hand in class, and just wrote beautiful, moving sentiments about this great book we just read. And kids were responding like, wow, that was a really great statement, or my gosh, you never speak, you never raise your hand. That was really cool. And it just gives all of my kids more of a voice, because even those shy ones that don't like to raise their hand or are a little hesitant because they're not sure they're right, have an opportunity to kind of engage and be a part of the class.
Overall, what I like the most is having all of my lessons on Canvas. And so the students come in, they open up their machines, they check what we're doing today. I give them an opener where they have to do something online in Canvas, and by that time I'm ready to teach after doing attendance or whatever. And so that makes it much more smooth than a regular classroom. I like not having papers. In fact, just passed out papers in a class. I'm like, papers in my classroom? I'm not used to this at all. And I realized, yeah, I'm totally paperless, which is nice. All my assignments are turned in Canvas. The students know how to do it. There's no question about my dog ate it, or as a teacher, I lost their paper somewhere. I just say, hey, check Canvas. Is it there? It's not there. You figure it out.
I like that she doesn't really talk too much. Like, she'll tell us what it is, what we need to do on the computers, and then she just lets us do what we need to do. And it's easier because we get to like communicate with friends, trying to figure things out with them. Plus, we can look something up, and we don't have to some people don't have to get on their phones to figure things out. They can just look it up while they're on it.
Say two things. First of all, it's okay if you don't know every part about the technology. The kids work circles around me and they end up teaching me things. It was wonderful. And then the other thing is that at the beginning of our school year, we had to slow our content down to teach the process of using the technology and the laptop or the different programs. But we've more than made up for that, and we're moving much faster now through our content because we have better tools and we have more options, which gives a lot more voice to our students.
I was very surprised at how quickly the kids chose the trackpad over the external mouse. I'm not a big fan of the trackpad, but the children are. So they have a choice whether they want to do that or not. The management of headphones and mice and laptops and getting everything charged correctly took a couple of weeks, but I think they've got it down for the most part. I have usually 2 cart managers at the end of a session where everybody's using a laptop that goes back and checks that the light is on, that the plugs are plugged in correctly, that they're in the right slot. So I think that's some of the things that we figured out as we went along.
Probably start slowly. Make sure when you start, plan for that first day to go poorly, and expect that there's going to be students that can't log in. There might be a computer that's not working, well or correctly, or maybe it's just something happened the day before when somebody else was checking out the cart. You just never know, and so plan for the worst and hope for the best.
They've learned how to help each other out. Sometimes their desktop isn't there, and we've found, to sign out. One kid learns and helps the others. If you have somebody in your building, maybe you could have a kid come over the first couple of times that you are doing it, to have your expert to help you with those little problems, because it can be kind of overwhelming if you've got a class full of kids all saying, I can't, this doesn't, how do I do this? So, but otherwise, I have been very happy with the experience. I wouldn't let you take over my cold dead body to get them out of here, so.